I promised many of you on this channel that I would not put out a review of a camera and then just abandon ever talking about that camera again. I personally feel if so many photography YouTubers get a piece of equipment to review for the rants, raves, likes, and subs, then you never hear that photographer talk about that piece of equipment that they have convinced so many of us to purchase or to contemplate purchasing ever again. That is not what this channel will ever be about, because I think getting a piece of equipment to use for 2 weeks does not tell the entire story of what that piece of equipment or how that piece of equipment functions. It does not tell you how someone thinks about that same piece of equipment made them feel once the excitement of shooting something new or different wears off. So today I want to share with you my thoughts on the Leica M10 about 1 year after owning it. Now, the Leica M10 has been my daily driver and my everyday carry for just about every event I shot in 2022 and half of 2021. It is also one of the few cameras that I shot a lot of my personal work on over the last year plus. To be honest, after buying the M10, I was actually afraid to shoot with it because I thought I would ruin the body and scratch it up, so it sat on my shelf. Even when I would have an option to take it with me to shoot, I would always opt for something that had autofocus or that I could move a little bit faster with and get in and out of situations without much thought. The truth is, I spent months lusting after a tool that I was not willing to shoot because I was not ready to take the time to learn something new and work harder for the imagery that I was photographing. Then one day I decided to not let my Leica become a collector's item on my shelf, and I took it with me to a wedding that I was going to photograph. At first, I used the M10 for the quieter moments of the day, like getting ready, and then I would use my Canon equipment when I needed something that could just adjust quickly on the fly or that I was a little bit more used to. When I got home from the first wedding of shooting with the Leica M10, I was drawn to those getting ready images. The Leica M10 was quiet and small, allowing me to insert myself into situations where I would not typically insert myself with my DSLRs. Now, the imagery out of my M10 was rich and personal. I felt more like I was documenting the day instead of photographing the day. I know that may sound weird, but it's really amazing how a new tool like the Leica M10 can change how you see things. It can show you a different view of the world. I had been so used to carrying cameras like the Canon 5D Mark III and Mark IV that I started to believe I had become lazy with just shooting safe shots. My work had become somewhat rinse, lather, and repeat, and the Leica M10 pretty much changed all of that for me. The second thing that I want to chat with you about today is if you're coming from a DSLR or other mirrorless system, that the Leica M10 is incredibly small compared to some of the other offerings from Canon, Nikon, and even Sony. Perhaps the only camera that you can get in a package as small as the M10 is from Fujifilm, and those cameras are crop sensor bodies. They still deliver excellent images, but are not full frame like many pros are accustomed to shooting. The fact that such a small package combined with high quality, small lenses can pack such a punch is actually pretty still mind-boggling to me. I've tried out at least 12 different M-mount lenses over the years, and I've had a great experience shooting them all. However, my two favorite lenses have been the Leica Summilux 51.4 and the Voigtlander 40mm 1.4. The crazy part about both of these lenses is that you can already take an incredibly small combination with the Summilux, and you can make it even smaller with the Voigtlander. The camera and lens combination can be put in a small fanny pack or a small camera bag like the Peak Design 3L bag, and it would not weigh you down. And when you can own something that you can grab and go and not have to think about the weight on your back or your shoulders, it makes it by far more enjoyable to take it out of the bag and photograph something with it. Now, the last thing I want to share about this M10 a year later is the price, resale, and the justification for buying almost a 6-year-old tool. The Leica M10 was released in 2017 and it cost about $6,500. I just checked the eBay sold listings and people are still buying the Leica M10 from anywhere between $4,000 to $5,500 depending on the camera condition in 2022. To put this into perspective, the Nikon D850, the Nikon flagship camera, was also released in 2017 and the MSRP for that camera was $3,600. Today it's been sold on eBay from anywhere from $1,300 to $1,900. Nikon, from my understanding, is no longer making DSLR cameras anymore, so in the same amount of time, the Nikon depreciated at a greater rate than the Leica camera. The Nikon declined by 62% compared to only 38% of the Leica at the lowest price currently being sold on eBay. That is not to say that the Nikon D850 is a Leica camera. It isn't. But if you're choosing what system to get into, perhaps depreciation would be a part of the equation of your decision making. You would probably sell a camera to buy a new model at some point in time. And camera manufacturers are not creating cheaper cameras. So you might as well get into a camera that will depreciate less. And I know each camera is used for different things. So if you're a sports photographer, then the Leica will probably make no sense for you. But if you're documenting things in the world, I know many of you would love the Leica. Now, I also know that you don't necessarily need a reason to buy a Leica other than just the fact that you want one or you've been saving up for one. But the price combined with resale value of the Leica M10 makes it pretty easy to justify the price. Now, I always like to conclude each video about a piece of equipment with the same thought. No one camera will make you better at your craft. The cameras that we shoot are exactly that, cameras. I pray that you actually learn to just adjust your eyes to see the world differently. And the only way that you can do that is by taking the camera that you currently own, point it at something, and photograph something with it. In fact, I have actually stopped taking photographs with my iPhone and I've always carry a physical camera with me. I know the iPhone takes fantastic photographs, and it can be a camera, but I want to get better shooting my cameras, so my phone is utilized for web browsing, text messages, and phone calls. Perhaps you will take the new camera you just bought with you, and I want to challenge you to go out and take at least 36 photographs a day, the equivalent of one roll of film. And I cannot wait to see what you create. Now, the Leica M10 is one of my favorite cameras of all time. But like I said in the beginning of this video, I promise that I will not just abandon reviewing this camera and letting you know how this camera works in different situations, such as family photography or street photography, or going out when you're shooting weddings and documenting it with the Leica. Now, it does present some unique challenges, and it also presents some unique things that will really kind of help open your eyes and see what you're shooting differently. Now, I know that I've shared with you several videos about this camera, and I'm going to continue to share with you several videos about this camera. It's my favorite camera. And the only way that you can get better or think about buying this is by having more information that you can possibly, as much as you can possibly get with this camera. So if this is something that you're into, I'd love it if you would subscribe to the channel. And I promise to continue to giving you true, honest, meaningful content about this particular camera and other cameras that I own, and lenses as well. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate you clicking in this video, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.